Yeah, for sure. If you don't prospect a little bit every day, eventually your pipeline is going to shrink. So in order to grow your business, you've got to prioritize certain activities. If I do recruiting. If I don't send at least a couple messages to somebody I don't know every day, every week, then eventually my pipeline is going to shrink and I'm going to have no new candidates. That's no different than a real estate agent prospecting for buyers or sellers or a loan officer prospecting for new referral partners. You have to prioritize the money making activities, right? If I don't get focused and have on my calendar the most important things that are going to make me money and grow my business, then I'm just going to be subject to, the whirlwind of the day. And so what I say is, if at least my goal is to send one message to somebody I don't know every day.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is the Executive Director of Sales at Service First Mortgage, where he drives growth through speed, service, and excellence. He helps top producers build scalable, values-driven businesses, and aside from this, he recently summited Mount Kilimanjaro. Please welcome John Donnelly. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Great to have you on here. I definitely want to get to Mount Kilimanjaro. We were talking about that a little bit before hopping on here, but let's back up all the way to the beginning. How did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I started when a friend of mine, my wife had a friend in a mortgage company that said they need to hire a loan officer, and I just went and started working in a call center, and this was in like 1996, 97. And so I started taking loan applications over the phone and doing 125 second lien mortgages, which is a crazy idea. So we were doing loans over the value of houses. And that didn't last too long. And I decided I wanted to be a real loan officer and talk to real estate agents and work with purchases and be out in the street. So I did that for years. And I just kind of developed my own personal business and grew traditional mortgage business. And then I kind of kept getting pulled to recruiting and coaching and that type of thing. So leadership was really strong for me. And so I've evolved over the years into leading sales, coaching, regular coaching calls with my team, speaking at events and training people, and then doing a lot of recruiting as well. So that's kind of what I find myself doing today in the mortgage business.
I want to ask you about being in the business through all this time. I mean, you're talking 25 plus years, but getting into the mortgage space, you talk about late 90s, right? Totally different time, totally
Yes.
different time. At that point in time, what was the vibe, the sentiment in the mortgage space the same as it was in the early 2000s, where it was kind of in a lot of ways like everyone was qualifying for mortgages? What was the energy like? What
Yeah.
was the environment like at that time?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
It was a little bit when I first started, and then in 99, 98, 99, there was a compression of credit, and a lot of companies closed down. Not anything different than we might have been feeling over the last couple years. As that was my first taste of like what happens when your company goes out of business. I had to move companies quite a few times early on in my career. And then eventually I was like, I want to control my own destiny and have my own referral business. I was relying on companies to drive leads to me to make money. But I was still learning the business, right? I feel like those times then, and then like 90, like if you go fast forward to 2008, you think about that crash, it felt very similar to the last couple of years. It was just a lot faster. Today's like a death of a thousand cuts compared to 2008 and 9. It was like we just wiped out 3/4 of our business, real estate agents, loan officers,
Yeah.
everybody, and reset. And then if you made it through 2010, it was a heyday until a couple of years ago. It's been great. And so we're going through that pain again, So I've seen these cycles multiple times.
I want to ask you about being able to pivot and being able to weather the storms, because I've talked to so many people in the traditional mortgage space, so many guests on the show from across the country, and most of them got in after the 2008 crash. But the ones that were in beforehand talked to me about how there were so many people who were in beforehand. It was like making money hand over fist, and almost everybody or so many people were wiped out. Have you been able to weather these storms? And then also, do you have any strategic advice for folks about going through times like that?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I think of personally is I did a good job of not spending all my money when it was great. I saved money. I put money aside in our business, all of us, real estate, mortgage. We have these great times. We make a lot of money. Well, a lot of people spend it also. And so I did good enough to not crash myself and go bankrupt,
Yeah.
and I maintained my family and my lifestyle because I had my priorities right. I would blame that on the fact that I've been writing life plans for a long time and really focused on the things that are important to me and having long-term plans that helped me. It doesn't mean I made all the right choices, don't get me wrong, but looking back at it, I saw people make a ton of money, completely have to start over, even lose
Right.
their houses and that type of thing. And it's brutal. It's devastating. It's hard when it's your friends. And I've been in this weird situation. I've only worked at 2 companies since 2001. I've been in my companies for 17 years. And I think that's an important part of this story because just because things get hard doesn't mean you should change companies all the time. A lot of people do that. It's not always the company. A lot of times it's the market. If you lose faith in your leadership, then you might change your company. But I've had faith in my leadership, especially at the company I'm at now. I like the people I work with. It doesn't mean it's great all the time. If you trust those people you work with, you're going to navigate through some challenges. Right now, today, in the last couple of months, couple of years, we've really been challenged as an industry in this housing industry. As our company, we put this word on everybody's desktop over the last few months, this last year, called reimagine, and we've challenged our company to reimagine, how our processes work, and we do an all hands call every other week where we get the leadership team on a Zoom or Teams, and we have every employee where they can ask us questions. We tell them what's going on, and we're navigating through all the changes of AI and a harder market and all that together. And I just think that type of open communication and transparency is a game changer. We don't always get it right. It doesn't mean it's always perfect. Still loans are hard. It's hard to get, stuff done sometimes, but I feel like when you have the right people on the bus, as a team, you're just going to get through it all together.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I think the lending space, traditional mortgage is so important right now. And maybe I'm saying this with some degree of selfishness as someone who's looking at buying homes, and a lot of peers of mine are looking at getting their first home. And I think oftentimes people may run into an obstacle, a hurdle when it comes to buying their first home and they give up. But I think
Yes.
that we need more professionals in this space so that people can not just have someone to go to, but someone to go to that they know. I think there's a lot more people that know, and I could be wrong about this, but I think there's a lot more people that know maybe a realtor than there are people that know a lender. And so
Yes.
with some of this, it's like, okay, well, now there's a degree of separation. How do I go about this process? I was told no elsewhere, and now I feel maybe deflated in it. But with all the down payment assistance programs, and then regionally where you're at, things can be very regional and specific to that area. You need someone with a high degree of regional knowledge based on where you're at. And I think that's where great mortgage professionals come into play.
Man, you are speaking my language. There's about 80,000 licensed loan officers in the country now. I don't know how many realtors there are, but I know there's a lot more.
Yeah.
What you're saying that is so important to me is sometimes a consumer gets so caught up on an interest rate that they'll just shop around and get this lowest rate, but then they'll be frustrated through the entire process because they're dealing with some call center or some person in another state that doesn't really know what's going on. They're just offering this low rate to try to, enhance them to come use them because that's their only value they provide. I just think it's so important that, especially if you've never bought a house, to have somebody that you can talk to hold your hand through the transaction, that knows your community, knows the options. The market is always shifting. Right now, there's a lot more inventory available. And so you've got to have, obviously you've got to know how to negotiate that purchase, right? But somebody's got to know, like, if that house has been sitting there 6 or 8 months, you need the realtor's expertise to to get the right price, but you need the loan officer's expertise to maximize how you're going to put your down payment in it. Maybe you shouldn't drop the price and make a lower offer. Maybe you should have them pay closing costs. And how much would that bear, and how much would that save you? There's just a lot. It's complex, you know.
Yeah.
And mortgage isn't just the interest rate, and that sometimes it feels like that with some buyers.
I do want to pivot a bit here, John, and ask you about scaling a business in the mortgage space. I think there's some parallel to scaling a real estate brokerage as well. You can focus on
Yes.
production, you can focus on building the number of people in the brokerage, you can focus on both. You can also focus on specific areas or states. I know there's a lot of brokers that are active in multiple states. What's been your approach to scaling a business?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's very similar to real estate. Um, if you're talking about personal production, I'm big on building teams. There's a book called The E-Myth Revisited that I use as one of my teaching points, to talk about how to scale a team and go from one individual to a team of people, and then in a large team. The thing I find that's difficult for most people is when they hire their first assistant, their job is to give them all the things they do today and then go focus on marketing and prospecting and growing the business. Well, they have to give up something and know what to turn to. And a lot of times they don't let go of that stuff because it feels good to be able to do all the things they hired their assistant to do because they feel productive.
Right.
Does that make sense? And so a lot of a lot of times you become your assistant's assistant if you're not careful. So you need somebody that can help kind of put your system in place and coach you up so you know what to turn to grow your business. And so what I focus on more is building teams. Teams mean you have a loan officer that's kind of the face of it, that's out doing all the prospecting, and then the leads come in, and we have a team behind it that are working with the buyers and the customers. Their job is more the referral partners, and then the team's job is to have a great customer experience. And so I don't know if that answers your question
Oh, yeah,
exactly, but
for sure.
that's how we grow.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I want to spin off that and ask you a granular question about identifying where to allocate your time. People talk about, what's the most profitable activities that I can be doing. It's not always black and white because there's so much that's involved that is intangible. You talk about interactions, you talk
Yeah.
about follow up. You don't necessarily see an ROI today on follow up, but if you eliminate follow up completely, you're eliminating whatever majority of your business. How do you identify as someone who's scaling a business what to allocate your time to? And do you feel like this is replicable to others who are maybe not where you're at? They may be getting started.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't prospect a little bit every day, eventually your pipeline is going to shrink. So in order to grow your business, you've got to prioritize certain activities. If I do recruiting. If I don't send at least a couple messages to somebody I don't know every day, every week, then eventually my pipeline is going to shrink and I'm going to have no new candidates. That's no different than a real estate agent prospecting for buyers or sellers, or a loan officer prospecting for new referral partners. You have to prioritize the money making activities, right? And
Yeah.
and you gotta think there's certain things that they say in my role I wear 15 hats. That's kind of in our industry we talk about that. That's too many hats. From recruiting to putting out fires to managing people to all these things. If I don't get focused and have on my calendar the most important things that that are going to make me money and grow my business, then I'm just going to be subject to, the whirlwind of the day, and the day is going to dominate me of all the people that are calling me. And so what I say is, if at least my goal is to send one message to somebody I don't know every day. Like let's break it down to something very granular. At least I can look up at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and still have some prospecting going on if I'm really busy.
I want to pivot a bit here, and I would really like to have more time to talk about this because of how uh, I think it's such an amazing thing that you did. But you summited Mount Kilimanjaro. And we were talking about this before hopping on here. I was aware of Mount Kilimanjaro. I think a lot of people are, but I was unaware of exactly all that is involved. It's actually quite dangerous to embark upon this. Walk me through what made you decide, hey, I'm going to summit Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, in 2015, I went to a conference and I heard Bob Goff speak. He has a book called Love Does. He's an amazing speaker, and he tells a story about climbing Kilimanjaro. That's a whole nother thing. And so it kind of planted the seed in my head, like I could do Kilimanjaro. I think that would be cool. And Sean, the owner of my company, Service First, was with me. He goes, let's do it. I know somebody that actually guides people up it, which is kind of crazy. And this was in 2015. Well, we never did it. And fast forward, I read this book called The 12-Hour Walk, and it challenges you to just walk for 12 hours, no music or anything. And I did that. I actually walked 30 miles that day. And I thought, if I can make it 30 miles, I can make it up Kilimanjaro. I'm turning 50. This is my time, right? Like, this is my moment. If I'm ever going to do it in my life, it's going to be now. So I made that goal, and I contacted this lady, Gabrielle. We got a plan in place. It took me about a year of training, and I really prepared hard. and I climbed the mountain in June. It was 7 days climbing with a group. You have to have guides, you have to have porters, and you climb this mountain. It was the hardest thing I've ever done on the summit night. The very summit night, you start at 15,000 feet and you go to 19, so 4,000 feet up. I started at 11 p.m. that night and I got to the top at 7:30 in the morning, and then I had to come down. And so it was like I was awake for like 36 hours. I gave everything I had to get to the top of that mountain. You just don't have any energy when you're at that altitude. You can't breathe very well. It's a glacier on the top, and so it's cold. It's challenging, and it was awesome. Like it was great. So
I'm a big fan of alternative training methods. I've done jujitsu, long distance running. Um, of course, gone to the gym. But when you talk about scaling a mountain, you're talking about altitude sickness, right? But
yeah,
there's so much else that can go into it. I mean, these are, how long did it take from front to back to go from the bottom to the top of Kilimanjaro?
it took 5.5 days on the route we went on. And
So,
the reason I did that route was because the success rate's 75%, because you could go faster, but if you don't acclimate to the altitude, then you're done and you got to come down.
and
And
so,
so you
sorry, I
kind of
cut
you kind of go up for a couple days and then you come down and sleep, and you go up and you come down and sleep. So your body's acclimating to the altitude.
you talk about, 75% success rate. I mean, this would be one thing if it was in like Colorado, but it's in
Right.
Africa. And so, was it where is it in Africa? Which country?
Tanzania, Africa. Yeah. Kind of the middle of Africa, right on the eastern side.
And so you're out there, you're thinking, okay, I mean, everyone who's attempting to summit Mount Kilimanjaro is probably going out there with a fair degree of training, and still,
Yes.
75% are passing. So there's a good number of people that are not. You're out there for 5 days. I mean, you're talking, you could get physically sick in 5 days' time. You could, eat some bad food. Something could happen, right? And so there's so many different variables that go into this. Uh, Lack of sleep, exhaustion, you might be dealing with aches and pains, but then also the training itself. Walk me through some of the training. I mean, I imagine a lot of hiking, a lot of scaling
Yeah.
uh, various hills and this type of thing.
Yeah, I found a gym by my house that kind of put together a plan for me where um I did a circuit 3 days a week where I'd go for an hour and I do upper body and lower body. Lower body was really the most important. I did ski machines, row machines, but then I would do lots of lunges, squats, all kinds of things. Weighted step ups for tons of weighted step ups. And then outside of that, those days, I was going and I was walking or hiking. I have hiking trails by my house. And so I was doing a lot of miles. I'd go really long miles, like maybe 8 to 10 miles on a Saturday, really far. And then I would go, we don't have altitude like high
Right.
enough, but I would go up to places where there's hills, about every 3 months or couple months, maybe 6 weeks. And I'd do like a long, like 12-mile hike with altitude. I did get to go to Colorado, and I did actually go to France, to the Alps. My son's a ski instructor, so I went to ski with him, and we got up to almost 15,000 feet one time. And so they say the best thing that you can do to adjust to altitude is simply being in it. You don't even necessarily have to like challenge yourself too hard, but the fact that you can just be at altitude will help you deal with it. So I tried my best to get to some altitude before we went. Luckily, I did okay. I
I want to
took
ask you
Dynamox. It
two
was
more
my
Kilimanjaro questions. First, when you got there and you're touching down on in the airport,
yeah.
what was the feeling? What were you thinking? Like, my gosh, I'm about to do this. Were you worried? Were you like super confident? What was the feeling?
Yeah, I think kind of reminds me of that feeling you have, like, I don't know if you ever been a speaker and you get up on stage, you got the butterflies, like you kind of had butterflies, but there was also this excitement that you're like, this is going to be amazing. When you land, you could see the mountain coming in on the airplane, and it's massive. I mean, 19,000 feet, you're like, holy smokes. And when you were at the top, it was the same view you have out the window of the airplane. You see the tops of the clouds for miles, and it's the same kind of view. It looks the same. And And so it was really just excitement for me. We had a couple of days to kind of acclimate, and then it was go time. And we had this long bus ride to the trailhead. And next thing you know, you're going and you're in the middle of it. You're almost like, I can't believe this is real. Here we go.
In your group, summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, was there ever any moments of concern? Where was there ever any people who you were like, I don't know if what's going to happen, if they're going to be able to make it? Was there any
Yes,
trepidation during that summit?
very much. Yeah, I joined a group climb, so we had 11 climbers total. I had a friend of mine join me that lives here in the Dallas area, and so he went with me. But we had one person completely struggle, like they had to get off the mountain, had got altitude sickness, needed oxygen, was throwing up, all the bad things on the way up on summit night. The summit night's where you're gonna get it. Like the days were like 8 to 10 mile day climbs, like kind of more trails. Some of it was climbing, but it was all doable for the most people. We were ready. But on that summit night, when you're going up over that 15,000 feet up into 19, man, it was hard. And that's when we had people really struggling. Mark, my friend that was with me, was feeling kind of an irregular heartbeat and shortness of breath. And he was thinking about going back. And another girl had to be taken down and put on oxygen. Two of the other people, there's two of them that they had porters dragging them over to the top.
Yeah.
Like it was a struggle to get just at the top.
My goodness, man, I can only imagine that scene. I don't know if I'll do Kilimanjaro, but my hat goes off to you. We are coming up on time here, though, John. Where can folks go if they would like to reach out to you? Maybe they would like feedback. They're scaling their own business in the mortgage space,
Yes.
or they may have questions. They may be looking for a mortgage for themselves. How can folks get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah, you can go, if you have my name here, johndonnelly.com. I've been building out my own personal website. My favorite place is LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn a lot. The John Donnelly is my handle on there. If you just type it in, you'll find me, shoot me a message. Either way is a great place to connect with me, whether you're a home buyer, if you're in the mortgage industry and you want to talk about opportunities, or you just want to have a friend to visit with to, you know, console you because this industry is hard right now. Let's connect. So thank you.
John, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.